The money keep calling my name. Dollar signs make you sing.
I'm Ashley Haas, and you're watching All In. There was a reshuffling of the playoff picture, and the Bears and the Broncos are now the number one seed in the AFC and the NFC. Also, Mike Tomlin's job is being called out. But hey, the Giants are looking for a new head coach. I could see that being a thing. Just saying. But before I get into NFL talk, we gotta refer to one big topic, hot topic right now in college sports. That's right, Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin has left and gone to the arch rival nemesis, LSU. And to talk a bit about that more, because it's a wild story, we're bringing in our very own Newsweek sports lead, Joe Kozlowski. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Oh, no worries. Always happy to be here and in person this time.
I know.
Bonus, yeah.
Welcome.
No, thank you. But no, the Lane Kiffin thing, I feel like it's been going on for couple weeks now. It's just been waiting for the decision. And we got it. And like you said, he's leaving for LSU. And then you get into all the extra drama of it, of does he leave now? Does he stay through the season? Ole Miss said, leave now. Which coaches are going with him? It seems like there's at least a few, but that's all still being sorted out, still having to be confirmed. And yeah, it's just one of those things that you understand that's how college sports kind of works now. But at the same time, it's just kind of a shame that that's what we're talking about instead of this Ole Miss team going 11-1, being a playoff contender, being probably the best Ole Miss team that anyone can remember, and we're talking about the coach leaving. So it's one of those stories that you get it, you can't not talk about it, but I almost wish we could just focus on the team itself rather than the drama around it.
Well, he left a playoff contender team for a team that's not making the playoffs, but it's a future championship. So at what cost? Because he pretty much left his players and everybody, the whole team in disarray at Ole Miss. Not to mention the fact that he literally tried to steal all of the head coaches and assistant coaches. Like, he tried to steal everybody and take them all to Baton Rouge with him, which, you know, could penalize Ole Miss for not having coaches. So, I mean, it's just, you know, I get why they wanted him to leave right away. But this is a really interesting topic because do you stay? And you know, he offered to stay and coach. So do you keep the coach and keep your team together because he's now stealing all the coaches? And he, you know, what do you do in this situation? As Ole Miss, what do you do?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where there's kind of no good answer for it, and you just sort of have to make the best of whatever situation you end up in. And in this case, you can see why Ole Miss said, get out of here. Like I said, it's been simmering for a couple of weeks. This has been what's going on when they had the big rivalry Egg Bowl game, which has now been played. We're talking about Lane Kiffin instead of that.
Yeah.
When Lane Kiffin has not, this is not the first time he has made a move like this.
Yeah.
He left Tennessee to go to USC, probably, was it 15 years ago now, something like that?
Yeah, 09.
Yeah, didn't have the greatest time when he was the Raiders head coach. So I think it's one of those choices that there's no good choice.
Yeah.
But what you have to consider, like you said, going into the playoffs, just can't have any more drama, any more distraction than you've already had. And who knows, maybe it's one of those things where the team just pulls it together and says, hey, we're the ones out there. Lane Kiffin wasn't the one winning these games. It's us. And maybe they go on a nice little run. Who knows?
I mean, listen, Lane Kiffin is definitely an amazing coach. I mean, he clearly has a great record. He has 55 wins, 19 losses in his 6 years coaching for just Ole Miss. But you left all these players in a really bad kind of situation. And I think that the team should definitely hopefully come together, and I would love to see them now take the whole thing. Like, I would love to see them win without Kiffin, but it's going to be really hard for them. I mean, how do you do this now? You know, like, this is a team that is now left without their head coach, a lot of assistant coaches, and everybody in their once known world is now gone, and they were looking at a really good playoff standing. So is that killing their record? Like, do you count them out now for the playoffs?
I think it's going to be tough, just like we said, based on all of the drama, the weight of this, the emotions of it. But at the same time, like we're saying, they do have some staff who's saying, I believe it's the DC is taken over as the head coach. Joe Judge, who NFL fans will remember from the Patriots and the Giants, is still there. He obviously worked with Jackson Dart, so he's still should hopefully keep the offense rolling along. But no, it'll obviously be tough, and the players are the ones on the field. The players are the ones who theoretically win or lose the games. But like you said, 55 wins don't happen by accident. So it's gonna be a challenge for sure.
Well, going from college coaching to NFL coaching, listen, the Bills destroyed the Steelers. The Steelers were home. They got 7 points on the board. Bills scored 26, and it was a home game, so fans were cheering for Mike Tomlin's job. I have never heard Steelers fans yell so much. They were chanting "Fire Tomlin" over and over again. They interviewed Tomlin after the game, and he said he completely understood. He said, it's warranted. I get the frustration. He kind of handled it like a boss, I'm not going to lie. I do love Mike Tomlin. I think he is a great coach. That being said, he has been there now for, 20 years or something like that?
Around,
So, I mean, is it time for a change up? Maybe. I mean, I think a lot of that frustration should be thrown at Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, is having a birthday on December 2nd where he's going to be 42 years old. Maybe it's time to retire because he took one small hit and he went from looking like a great quarterback to like a, no, not my nose. He had a Marsha Brady moment where he hurt his nose and it was bleeding. So, listen, Mike Tomlin facing criticism, I think that he's an epic coach. I almost feel like it's time for a switch up. I'd love to see him maybe go to the Giants or somewhere else. Do I think they're going to fire him? Probably not. Do you think they will?
No, I think the Steelers are one of those franchises. Yeah. They're not going to fire him during the year unless something absolutely bananas happens. And I think when it comes time to change coaches, which it'll have to at some point, it'll be one of those classy parting ways sort of situations. But no, I thought you were going to talk about Aaron Rodgers since I feel like every time we're together we have to bring him up. But no, he can't throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage anymore. And I think we saw a little bit of this with the Jets last season. It annoyed me that it annoys me now when he says after the game, like, oh yeah, I thought we were a little bit flat this week. People weren't showing up, taking it seriously. Maybe the veteran quarterback of the team could do something about that before the game is over. I don't know, but yeah, it's been one of those seasons where he certainly hasn't covered himself in glory, and it just looks like the entire situation's getting a little bit sour, and nothing good ever comes out when you're booing the team, you're calling for the coach to be fired. Something's got to change at the end of the season. So,
well, I will say, Aaron Rodgers did get a strip sack from Joey Bosa, which is what I was talking about when he hurt his nose there, and that led to an epic touchdown by Benford. But it really did shift the momentum, and I think in the beginning the Steelers had such a great lead a little bit, and it was looking really good for them. But yeah, he's too fragile. Bless his heart, 42 years old. Like, you can retire, my man. You're ready. He knows he's ready. I interviewed him a couple years ago when he was playing for the Jets before he went into the Jets season, actually, and I knew then he didn't want to play anymore. Like, he's done. He's ready. He doesn't want to take hits anymore. You could see it. He plays well until he gets hit once, and then it's like, oh, it's over. I knew at halftime. I was like, I wanted to double down. I took the Bills actually and put money on them, and I actually at halftime wanted to double down on them. One of the things I should have did was an anytime touchdown by Josh Allen, because my God, that man he always runs in any time for himself. It was crazy. But yeah, that game was great. Again, Rodgers didn't have a great game, but Allen did. So Another game I want to talk about, though, speaking of somebody who's usually very good, who wasn't, Stafford. Oh my gosh. So, all right, the Rams with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, he went into that game having a perfect record of no interceptions with 28 passes. But then after this game, he had 2 picks in 3 passes, which is wild for him. And he also, one was a pick 6. So it was a terrible game for Stafford, but yet he still put up some good numbers, which is like kind of funny. Like, he went from no interceptions and 28 straight games to then he still put up, what did the Rams put up? 379 total yards. That's wild. But they ended up losing it 31-28. It was really close, but the Panthers, that was a must-need win for them. They're looking like they could be wild card playoff contenders. Thoughts on Panthers?
No, yeah, they've played themselves into the conversation. Trevor Hubbard, great day out, but no, like you said, Matt Stafford was a lot of MVP chatter, and then sort of laid a little bit of an egg out there in terms of the interception. Still, like you said, put up the big stats numbers, but yeah, no, that was one of those games I feel like was under the radar when you're looking through the schedule, like, Rams and Panthers, do we really need to watch that? But it turned out to be a great game, and really, like you said, to start off, shifted the NFC playoff picture. Cause
the Rams were number 1, and now they're number 2.
Yeah, and then home field has sort of been what they've been after I think it's 2 playoffs in a row, went out in really tough road losses in hard environments.
Yeah.
Maybe this was the year to get home field advantage, and now they have to go back and earn it again. I think they probably still do, just based on the Bears schedule. Yeah. I know we'll get to the Bears in a little bit, but yeah, really just flipped that NFC playoff picture up and down a little bit.
Puka Nacua, though, made one of the best one-handed catches I've ever seen in my life. We got to talk about that, though, because that was wild. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's backwards.
That's worth the price of admission right there. I mean, that's what they say, right? I would pay just to watch that guy catch the football a couple of times. So
he wasn't the only one with a one-handed catch, though. Last night in the Commanders game, did you also see?
Yeah, it was that at the end of the game, to put it like, I can't remember the name of who it was, but yeah, no, it was down the stretch, and again, that's what we want in NFL games, right? You want to tune in to see incredible athletes do freakishly cool things. So
it was Burks who had the one-handed catch. Oh my God! And it was again backwards, one-handed, incredible. And when it just touches the tippy point, it's wild to me. Like, those were 2 of the probably the best catches of the season, and the fact that we were saying that about Puka Nacua, and then almost a few hours later, then we see it in the Commanders game. I wonder if they watch and hear these things, and then they go, I'm going to do it too.
I mean, as much as you can plan to have a one-handed catch, right? But I mean, obviously, you don't know what time they're getting to this. I'm sure who's on Twitter, who's on Instagram Reels, on TikTok, whatever it is. And I'm sure all of these guys are talking to each other throughout the week. Oh, you did that. I got you in this game. So
that one-handed catch by Burks was a pivotal moment from Washington's comeback. But in the end, they did lose it in overtime. That was such a good matchup, though. Broncos at Commanders, goes into overtime, a win by 1 point. And the Broncos now have a 10-2 record. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, last year the Chiefs were winning all the 1-point games. This year it seems like it's shifted over to the Broncos, and it seems like every close game they get the bounce, they get the big play, they get the big hand up to block the pass, whatever it might be. And I know I've seen a lot of talk that that's a negative against them, that they're not winning dominantly, they're winning on these crazy one-off plays, but yeah, they're winning the games, and I think that's a big misconception when you talk about regression and those sorts of things. They don't have to come crashing back to earth this season. They can they can keep this run going. It can come back to earth next year. It can come back to earth 2 years from now. It eventually will. You're not going to win all these games. Look at the Chiefs this year, who are probably better than last year, but just aren't getting those wins. But no, I don't think that's a strike against the Broncos at all. I think they have earned their place at the top of the AFC, and even if they don't look the most convincing, you don't get bonus points for winning by 3 touchdowns. So I think whoever's going to face them going down the stretch into the playoffs, however far they go, they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, and now they are the number 1 seed. It's wild. Honestly, I was shocked that game was as close as it was, especially with, Commanders having still the backup quarterback. But it wasn't as shocking as what happened on Thanksgiving. So it seems like it was so long ago, but we have to talk about these matchups because I still cannot believe that almost all the home teams lost. It was crazy. The only team that won at home was the Dallas Cowboys against the Chiefs. I hate to even say that. I hate that the words even came out of my mouth, that the Cowboys beat the Chiefs. I was watching that game with my parents. We wanted both teams to lose pretty much, or get a tie at least. But yes, so the Cowboys get 31 points to the Chiefs 28. Do we think that is scary now for the Chiefs? Do the Chiefs really have a chance? We keep giving them excuses. Why are we making excuses for the Chiefs all the time?
I mean, I think when you have the run that they have had, you get the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, I think at this point, they basically have to run the table and probably get a little bit of help to to make it into the playoffs. And that's a tough ask even for the Chiefs of previous years, let alone the Chiefs of this year. And they've been a weird team this year. Honestly, I think they have played better than they did last year, but it's just those 1-score games that they seemingly had the knack last year. There were the botched snaps, the doinked field goals, all those wacky ways that they just found ways to win. They are not getting this year. I think they've only won one possession game this year. And yeah, they just seem to have those moments that don't go their way, whether it's a penalty flag that gets thrown that might not have got thrown in another game, whether it is a tipped ball that becomes an interception instead of falling incomplete. They're just not a team who can overcome those fine margins. And if you're playing a 1-score game every week, eventually you're not going to get the breaks to go your way. And I think that's a large part of what's happened to them this year. Are there some roster things we can quibble with? For sure, but I really do think that for the most part, the Chiefs have probably played pretty okay to good football. And yeah, just aren't good enough to overcome those fine margins that they've been getting. But yeah, we might see the AFC title run. The AFC West title run is going to be over. We might even see the playoff run be over unless something really incredible happens and Patrick Mahomes puts on his Superman cape. Travis Kelce gets out of the time machine a couple years younger. But it'll be a tough home stretch for them no matter what happens.
I wonder if Kelce is going to get all of the backlash for how the Chiefs have been playing, because a lot of people obviously want to blame the Taylor Swift situation. I think he's honestly probably going to retire in the next year or so.
Yeah, I believe his contract is up after this year.
Yeah.
Last year, you could have seen him go after last year, but what did he say? He couldn't go out after a Super Bowl like that. So yeah, I think you just look at him play. He was never...
He's still putting up good numbers, though, in fantasy, I have to say.
For
He's
sure.
still putting up good numbers. And, I mean, he's not the problem, but I feel like fans are looking for an scapegoat.
And he's also not the solution. And for so many years, he was that guy who was a wide receiver playing tight end, would just make something happen out of nowhere.
Right.
And he just doesn't have that half step anymore. And like you said, when you're somebody who's in the spotlight, who's engaged to the most famous person in the world, who's talking about the mayor of Cincinnati and things like that after the game, you get the headlines when they're good. You get the headlines when they're bad. So,
well, another upset was the Packers at the Detroit Lions. The Lions scored 24 points. The Packers scored 31. It was in Detroit. And honestly, I don't know what's going on with the Lions right now, but I am a huge Detroit Lions side fan. Obviously, I'm diehard Eagles, but I love the Lions and what has been happening to them. They have been completely crushing down and breaking it. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like there is some drama or turmoil within the house because they're not playing like they want it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things we started off talking about coaching staffs kind of falling apart. And when you think about the Lions, they were kind of the talk of the league last year, and they lose their coordinators. I'm sure we'll get to Ben Johnson taking his shirt off in the locker room in a little bit, but he's not there anymore. Defense has changed, offense has changed, and I think when you are that's what we love about the NFL. It's in any given Sunday league. Anyone can beat anyone. The margins are so fine, and when you lose two of your top three minds of the brain trust,
yeah.
I don't know if that's the reason, but it certainly doesn't help you when you're trying to keep the run going. Because, again, like you said, the margins are so fine.
Yeah.
Playing the Packers at home, one possession goes a different way. We're talking about, the Lions turned the corner. They're looking good again for the playoffs. But it's a fine margin league. A couple of things go your way, and you could be on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. So.
Well, speaking of outside of the playoff picture and looking in, what is going on with the Ravens? The Ravens lose to the Bengals, and the Ravens have just, with Lamar Jackson still back, it's like what is going on? Why 14 points to the Bengals 32? That wasn't even close. Yeah. That was just a blowout for them. And it was a dominant win for the Bengals. Honestly, I feel like the rhythm is super off in Baltimore. It has been, but again, this was a team that we kept. They were so far back, but yet they were still leading the playoff picture for the Super Bowl contender. And now they're almost completely out of even wild card, if that.
Yeah, I think it's like the Lamar Jackson has just never really gotten it back from the injuries. Yeah. I know he's been on the field, but what is it, 3 games now he hasn't thrown a passing touchdown, I think. If you're not doing that, he hasn't really run since coming back. That just sort of puts your offense really behind the 8 ball. And obviously the point of the offense is just to score the ball. That's kind of what they're there for. But it's not even that. It's the sustaining drives, getting the field position, keeping the other team's defense on the field while your defense gets the breather. And when you're just not able to sustain offensively, the entire house of cards just falls apart. And when you have a quarterback that can't really run and can't really pass, what are you really able to do on offense? And then the ball just keeps coming back down your throat, back down your throat, back down your throat. And that's how you lose to the Bengals and don't even really look competitive while doing it, which is honestly the scariest part of it. If you lose on a field goal, a pick six, something weird happens, you can give you that. But just looking that bad on a Thanksgiving night national game, you should be up for it, and that happens. It
wasn't as bad as Black Friday's game, which is why I'm in all black, because I am mourning my Philadelphia Eagles, who got 15 points at home against the Bears, who scored 24 points and asserted themselves as a real NFC contender. Honestly, I mean, they are now leading the division, the number 1 seed. I mean, I can't even believe the Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. That is wild to me.
Yeah, it's
wild.
It's just how we drew it up at the start of the year, right?
Yeah, exactly. We knew this was going to happen.
No, it's really a great story, and I actually have a friend who's a Bears fan. We were all saying at the start of the year, like, oh yeah, we'll see you next year when you're picking top 3 in the draft and something. But no, they're on top of the NFC right now, and I think they'll fall back a little bit just based on strength of schedule that they have left. But no, they deserve the credit. The defense is getting turnovers like it's their job. They got a great ground game. Like we were saying, Ben Johnson really seems to have got the team gelling, got everybody feeling good. And if you haven't seen the clip, you got to look at when you've got your head coach with his shirt off in the locker room jumping around. Those are the sort of thing that you see. Everybody on the team is buying in. They're all pulling on the same rope. They're all feeling good. And when you get that, that's when you can have a team that punches above their weight and really gets on a run, and you just get those good vibes.
I just
think
hate
that
they
counts.
did it in our house.
I mean, that's like I say, it was the weekend of not the home teams, except for Dallas.
Except for Dallas. I mean, it was some really great matchups. I do want to talk about the Texans at the Colts. The Texans beat the Colts 20-16, and Daniel Jones, I have to give him credit because he was playing through a broke fibia, and that pain, I don't even want to know how bad he was, but he still did great. He threw for 201 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. So who can we blame here but just the offense who couldn't make plays? They were dropping balls. Like, I mean, I don't, it was.
Yeah, I think it's one of those tricky situations where Jones isn't at his best, but it's hard to really hold that against him. But like you said, he's played on a literal
He also threw
broken
no
leg.
picks with that broken fibia. So it's like, you know, speaking of broken bones that were getting injured, Sauce Gardner got injured.
That's a big loss.
Yeah. He had a little cast on his foot or something happening, but I have heard it's not completely broken or what's going on with him.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how the week plays out. But yeah, that's a tough one, especially when you go out and trade all those pieces for him and then potentially lose him. But yeah, no, like you said, the offense has been not at its best. I think the past few weeks, Jonathan Taylor has really gotten bottled up, and he was always sort of their big escape valve. I think against the Chiefs, he had like 55 yards, 60 yards, something like that. So they're not getting those big explosive games from anywhere. But also at the same time, we got to give the Texans some credit, really playing themselves back into that AFC South picture. And now against have the Chiefs next weekend, and that'll be a big see who both teams really are game.
We're going to tell there, like, who really has it. Like, I feel like a holiday weekend could be a little off. Like, you know that it's not. There's a lot going on. Yeah, weird things happen. It's like a lot goes on the holiday week. So it's like, okay. But this is definitely, like you said, next week will be a must-tell game where we kind of get to see it. I do want to talk about another injured quarterback, which is Herbert. So he will be undergoing surgery for his hand. He hurt his hand in the game against the Raiders, which is honestly, that ended up being a very weird game. You know, the Raiders weirdly looked like they held a little bit of a lead for a moment, but then the Chargers ended up winning 31-14. I know this isn't really that relevant, but I would like to say that I love that Harbaugh actually turned the Chargers uniforms into like Detroit colors, like Michigan colors. Like, how did he do that? Like, how did he change the blue to navy and yellow?
I feel like I haven't seen those navies since the 90s,
since his college,
with like LT, with LaDainian Tomlinson and those guys.
Yeah.
And then he brought
Coach
him
Harbaugh
back
just
around.
completely changed the colors of the Chargers and made it so it was familiar to him and his college coaching days. So who knows against Michigan, but so that was a wild game. And, also the Cardinals at the Bucks. The Bucks get the win over the Cardinals. We kind of knew that one was going to happen, but I'm glad to see Baker Mayfield get a W under his belt. He needed to break that
injured shoulder. No problem. He's really been the story this year. Bucky Irving back always helps to be able to hand the ball off to a quality running back. So now Bucks are looking good.
And you know what was a real Thanksgiving miracle, even though it wasn't on Thanksgiving, but I'm going to call it a holiday miracle, was the Jets got a win. Was it a good thing? Because it did hurt their chances in their draft position order. So, I mean, they win. They get the W over the Falcons. It was a great win for New York and home, but was it?
Yeah, I think their draft odds dropped from, I think, 25% to, I want to say 10%, something like that.
Yeah.
But when you're in this situation where the Jets not only are but have been for it feels like as long as any of us can remember. You've got to take the good vibe wins where you can get it, especially you've got a first-year head coach. You're coming off trading one of your big players in Sauce Gardner, who we just talked about.
Yeah.
You got one of the guys you traded for, A.D. Mitchell, making a big impact. So I think that's one of the games where you'll accept going from the first pick to the third pick, fourth pick, whatever it ends up being, in order to actually feel like you can do something right and you're able to pull it together and actually go somewhere. And yeah, I think I understand why we have to worry about draft picks, but
yeah.
Like a Jets coach once said, you play to win the game. You don't play to get good draft position. So I think on the balance, they'll take it.
I would like to say you brought up a good point. So the Colts traded for cornerback Sauce Gardner, who from the New York Jets, to get 2 first-round picks and wide receiver Mitchell, who did score his first touchdown. So it does seem like, and Sauce Gardner did get injured. So for the Jets, I will say it was kind of a little bit of a nice win feeling because who they traded for got them a touchdown, a win, and Sauce Gardner could be injured. By the way, did you know how much Sauce Gardner was getting paid?
I knew,
it's
but
a lot.
I didn't know it was that much. It's one of those numbers that you hear and I have to look twice at it.
The deal includes $80 million guaranteed, which was a lot of cap. So his average salary is $30.1 million. And that is definitely, I think, a little too much for the Jets. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They could get so much in that realm for them. So I actually originally was really upset with this trade, and then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I think the Jets do need to rebuild. I think getting those 2 first-round picks is pretty pivotal, and also it looks like Mitchell turned out pretty good and not so bad, I mean, it actually ended up being what I thought was a terrible move maybe wasn't so bad for the Jets.
Yeah, and like you said, I think just where the Jets are is the main thing. You don't need star players when you are nowhere near the playoffs. It's not fun to have to trade those guys away, but that's what happens in a league where draft position and draft capital is just so important. Is we all have seen it. You nail that one player in the draft, whether it's the star left tackle, the star quarterback, whoever it may be, and your entire franchise is turned around for the next 10 years. So it's not the most fun thing to see as a fan, but you gotta understand why you do it.
But nothing would be as bad as, seeing the Vikings get an O. They are the only team that got completely shut out, and they did so by a former Jet. Sam Darnold got 26 points for the Seahawks, and the Vikings got none.
Yeah, it was when we want to talk about needing a quarterback. The Vikings, that look like they got to start over from square one. J.J. McCartney has not been it. He was out. Had their backup in this week. Put up a goose egg. So you talk about quarterback play and draft capital. That's a team that's looking at quarterback play for the future. I'll tell you that one for free.
Ooh, well, appreciating your free insight and all of your insight, Joe. You have been amazing, and thank you so much for joining us on All In with Ashley. I have to say, it was a wild, wild week in the NFL, and I can't wait to see what games are going to happen and what's going to pursue for Thursday Night Football, Sunday, and Monday. And I'll have to give you guys my picks for next week. So you're going to have to stay tuned for Friday's show, where I'm going to be giving you my locks of the week like I always do. And there's a lot to consider now with all of this information that we have to take into consideration. So stay tuned, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube. I'm Ashley Haas, and I'm all in. Thanks for joining us.
The money keep calling my name. Dollar signs make you sing.